Thank you, Chairwoman Granger, and thank you, Ranking Member Lowy. I'm personally very appreciative for your support, your commitment to these issues, your leadership, and your willingness to take time to offer both counsel and serious oversight to help us get better at deploying our development mission around the world. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here and be with the committee, and want to thank you personally. This is an important moment for development. Drawing down from a decade of war requires rethinking how America projects power and values around the world. And we believe development will continue to be elevated as part of our national security and foreign policy engagements across the globe. I recall just about a year and a half ago having the opportunity to visit Somalia in the midst of a famine. And in that context, I met children who were on the verge of starvation and mothers who had been through extraordinary challenges. It was American support in any number of forms to which was keeping them safe and allowing them to survive. Just a few months ago, I had a chance to be back in Somalia, this time not at a refugee camp on the border, but actually in Mogadishu. And I saw the other side of what can happen when we work to build hope and opportunity. They had turned on 600 street lights for the first time in Mogadishu and had a peaceful evening celebration for the first time in 2 decades. We're working in more than 400 communities to help displaced persons go back to their homes, receive some seed, fertilizer, and farm implements, and rebuild their own livelihoods so they don't remain in a cycle of dependency. And that, while there's so much more to do in that setting, it does give me hope that the new model of development we've tried to pursue with a focus on self-sufficiency, dignity, and partnership has been one that is achieving results. Very briefly, our Feed the Future program is a model of this engagement. We cut our agricultural programs in 23 countries to focus on 19 where we think we can deliver the best results. And we now know that our efforts have contributed to a 5.6% annualized poverty reduction rate in those countries, reached more than 7 million farm households, motivated $3.5 billion of private sector investment to accelerate and complement our public investments, and led to real policy reforms, including efforts to fight corruption in these settings. Similarly, our partnership to end preventable child death around the world is working. Again, we had to cut programs in 22 countries to focus on those 24 that account for the largest burden of disease. And again, we rely on large-scale partnerships with everyone from vaccine manufacturers to zinc miners to help make sure that we get the products and technologies to children in order to save their lives. We hope to expand and bring this partnership model to education, water and sanitation, and any number of areas that we agree are critical to expressing our values in the most effective, results-oriented way. Underpinning these efforts is the USAID Forward reform approach. It's an approach that focuses on a new form of partnership and engagement, on a prioritization of innovation, science, and technology, and on a commitment to measure and report transparently on results. Today you can download an application on your iPad that will show you 186 independently conducted project evaluations, unadulterated by us, so we can all learn together from what works and what doesn't. Because of your support, we have been able to rebuild our staff, hiring in 1,100 Foreign Service and Civil Service officers over the last several years, and that's been necessary to do improved monitoring, evaluation, and oversight of contracts and programs to save American taxpayer program resources over time. We've made our work transparent by joining the International Aid Transparency Initiative, and we've prioritized local solutions that can at times cost less and allow for more sustainability in how those programs are implemented. As part of this year's budget, the President has proposed an important reform to our food aid program. This reform is designed to reach 4 million additional children with basic core nutrition during times of extreme need without asking for additional funds. This reform allows us to expand the flexibility with which we can meet needs in a changing world. Today, whether in opposition-controlled Syria or parts of Yemen or Somalia, traditional forms of humanitarian assistance are less effective, and more flexible modern approaches are often required where there are real security threats for our humanitarian workers. The reform promotes efficiency and incorporates new science as the underpinning of how to deliver results-oriented aid and assistance. And the reform maintains and, in fact, renews the long-standing partnership with American agriculture, allowing for the majority of products and commodities to continue to be bought here in the United States and shipped on U.S. flagged vessels, but in an updated and modern way that benefits from what we know about how to most effectively improve lives for children and women. I'd like to take this moment to thank our staff and to thank you for your special concerns about our staff. This past year, we lost one of our own, Reggae Abdel Fattah, in Afghanistan. It was the toughest moment for most of us here in Washington and around the world to have to go through. And we recognize that his family has made a sacrifice, an ultimate sacrifice, because this young man cared a lot about the education of the people he worked with in a community in Afghanistan. At a time when cuts across our government have required real efficiencies to be sought and expressed in this budget, our FY14 request is 6% lower than our FY12 enacted level. But we still believe that by doing things differently, by demanding more of others, and by partnering for results, we can still have big aspirations. And those aspirations were reflected in the President's State of the Union address, where he, like other presidents before him, called for us to achieve big things, to end extreme poverty in 2 decades, to end preventable child death in that same time frame, to usher in an AIDS-free generation, to support transitions in the Middle East and Afghanistan, improve trade and economic ties with Africa and other parts of the world. So I'm very excited to have this opportunity to be with you and eager to get into the topics that you've laid out. Thank you.